What's up YouTube, my name is Gio, and we are back at it again to get involved in something that nobody asked us to do. That's right, we did one Marvelous scene, we did Star Wars Defined, and now with it being a decade since the first X-Men movie, Nano V Movies and a bunch of other YouTubers are searching throughout the franchise to find one excellent scene. A moment throughout not just the movie franchise, but all of X-Men media that we can connect with on some level. Originally, I wanted to do something different by looking at Dark Phoenix, a movie that is god-awful, and try to find a scene in it that was better than the rest. A diamond in the rough, if you will. So I started the movie.
It's funny. I can't actually remember the last time you were the one risking something. And by the way, the women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing the name to X-Women.
What the fuck is that?
And didn't even make it halfway through before I realized that this was goddamn impossible. So I shifted my focus to X-Men Days of Future Past, where I found a scene that I think is really overlooked, that being when Logan first meets young Professor X. I like this scene because it does a great job at setting up our main characters for the rest of the movie, by showing the audience their dynamics, personal internal conflicts, and reinforces a theme that has been a staple in the X-Men media. But we'll get to that later. For now, let's just focus on that first point, these characters' dynamics.
Ooh, top marks. Like I said, you are perceptive.
The professor I know would never turn his back on someone who lost their path.
So at first glance, this scene just seems like your basic exposition dump. But what makes it different and in my opinion more interesting is the dynamics between Logan, Charles, and Hank. More specifically, how those dynamics have flipped from what we're used to seeing from these characters. Okay, Hank is pretty much the same, but Charles and Logan are the ones that change the most. Throughout pretty much every X-Men movie, Professor X is always a guiding force to many characters. He has this wisdom that has helped many of his friends and students. In the film franchise, this dynamic has often been shown between him and Logan, as Charles, even at an old age, is still a force of moral good and teaching for him. In the scene, after getting into a little bit of a scruffle with Hank, Logan ends up meeting the Professor's younger self, and much like he was warned, he is not like Logan expected.
You can walk.
You're a perceptive one, which makes it slightly perplexing that you managed to miss our sign on the way in. This is private property, my friend. I'm gonna have to ask him to ask you to leave.
We see here that now the roles are reversed. Charles is not the wise professor Logan knows he will become, and he and Hank only reinforce that point.
So where's the professor?
There's no professor here.
Professor?
Please don't call me that.
Told you there was no professor here.
Charles is now the one that is lost and is in need of guidance, and Logan has to be the one to bring him back onto the right path. And at the time of this movie's release, Logan wasn't a thing, so this was the first time we saw Wolverine in a more of a mentor role. This puts a very interesting spin on the dynamic between Logan and Charles, and makes the exposition dump just more palatable, because we want to know what happened that led Charles down this path. The information we get in this scene also gives us a look into Charles' mind and the battle he's been fighting that leads him down this path, or more specifically, his internal conflict. A character's internal conflict will often give the audience a deeper look into the character's psyche, their needs, morals, insecurities, etc. Let's look at Hank as an example before we get to Charles. His internal conflict in this movie boils down to his insecurities about the way he looks, and that's not just shown with the serum that he made to hide his mutation, but throughout the movie we see a focus put on Hank's beast appearance, and is often shown as a negative. People are scared of him, and he sees himself as a monster, until he reconnects with Raven. With this being Hank's internal conflict, it ends up adding a lot of depth for a character that honestly doesn't do a lot in this movie. So now let's run it back to Charles and look at his internal conflict. The obvious problem we see is his reliance on Hank's serum, and at first glance it seems like it's just so he can walk again. But throughout this scene we don't see him really make use of this. Every chance Charles gets, he will sit down away from everyone else, rather than enjoying his returned mobility. If his true conflict was not wanting to lose his ability to walk again, he would spend a lot longer being up and moving around. This indicates that there is something deeper, and we are first given a hint of that by him sitting away from everyone. He's disconnected, much like what the serum does to his mind.
I take just enough to keep myself balanced, but he takes too much. I tried easing him back, but he just couldn't bear the pain. The voices. The treatment gives him his legs, but it's not enough.
We get to see Charles' internal struggle, how the serum was a way for him to be at some state of ease, and the impact the ending of First Class had on him, and is emphasized not just in this scene, but later on in the movie.
How did you lose them?
The treatment for my spine affects my DNA.
You sacrificed your powers so you could walk.
I sacrificed my powers so that I could sleep.
Charles feels like he has failed. And with all this shit being thrown at him, it honestly makes sense that he would pretty much give up. And that's what I love about this scene.
Fuck off.
Okay, hear me out. The fact that Charles is in such a dark place does a lot for the character of Professor X, as it plays into one of the lessons he needs to learn, and what I believe to be a big theme for the X-Men. That being, no matter how far you have fallen, you can always get back up. Let me explain. The X-Men franchise, at the end of the day, has been about people that feel like the world is against them and exploring their reactions to these circumstances. It's one thing to see Hank, Mystique, or even Logan fall backwards down a dark path, but by making it Charles, someone who has always been that light at the end of the tunnel for many of the X-Men, to see him fall so far from the Professor X that we know, makes him more of an interesting character. It reinforces the fact that if Charles can stumble back and lose his way, then anyone can. What is important is that you get back up. You decide if you get back up or not. It is your choice, no one else's. And this scene shows Charles taking that first step.
I'll help you get her. Not for any of your future shite, but for her.
When it feels like the world is crashing or that everyone seems to be against you, many just sit back and let the negativity consume them, because those first steps are the hardest. And for Charles, it isn't exactly smooth sailing after this scene. But I believe what is important about this scene is that it shows him taking that initiative, making that choice to get back up and be better. Just like Mystique, Logan, Hank, and almost all the X-Men, they each had a choice, and they chose to take that first step to be better, to get back up. In my opinion, all of this is what makes this scene just so excellent. Anyway, I do hope you guys did enjoy the video. Sorry for it coming out late. I honestly didn't expect how much editing had to be done with a video like this, but it got done, and it gives me time to work on some other projects in advance. So, in reality, it's a little bit of a win, but again, sorry that it came out late. Also, I know this is a small channel, but if you guys can check out my friend Alex over at Round Border Cinema, he does some really good editing with his content, and I would love to see him get a little bit of a boost. I know we're not that big, but if just one of you guys can go over there, check out his channel, comment, and say that Gio sent you. It mean the world to me. If you guys want to see my One Marvelous Scene video, which was the first one I did on the channel, click the box on the left. And if you want to know my thoughts on Dark Phoenix, because God, that was trash, click the box on the right. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys liked it and new channel, hit that like and the subscribe button. Also, the channel potential, hit those same buttons. Anyway, my name is Gio, and I will talk to you all later.